when the days drew near for him to be taken up, he set his face to go to Jerusalem. Have you ever had your mind made up about a particular situation or event or opportunity? Have you? Come on, talk with me. Okay, great. And regardless of the situation, your mind is all set, regardless of whatever happens. If you get a flat tire, like me for the past 2 days, my mind was set to come to St. Julian or to go to ordination service yesterday, and I made sure that I did it. Here in Luke's travel section of the gospel, it actually takes up 40% of the story about Jesus. We understand that Jesus' face is set towards Jerusalem, and for a very good reason. Today's text teaches us that our relationship with God always comes at a price. Perhaps if we were using track 1 from Kings, it probably identifies a little easier where Elisha succeeds Elijah when he's taken up to heaven in a fiery chariot. In track 2, the reading, Old Testament reading from this morning, we hear the story of how God first called Elisha as Elijah's successor. In the New Testament, Paul urges the church at Galatia to use their spiritual freedom to live in the Spirit. And in the gospel response for this morning, Jesus teaches his disciples about the cost of following him. The Old Testament reading from 1 Kings describes the final moments of the life of the prophet Elijah. And we recognize that Elisha is eager to inherit Elijah's prophetic office and does not hesitate to make his wishes known. Then instead of normal death, Elisha is taken to heaven by a whirlwind in a chariot of fire. Elisha receives the cloak left behind by Elisha. After testing the power of the cloak, Elisha is assured that God will now be with him for his prophetic work. And having told his disciples for the second time that what would happen to him in Jerusalem, Jesus sets his face decisively to that city. We are told that 3 persons want to follow Jesus, but want to follow him on their own conditions of discipleship. As he's starting out with the 12, Jesus has to rebuke 2 of them who want to punish a city that refused to receive him. Here we have 2 extremes, one of halfway commitment and the other of fanaticism. In them, to be distinguished from a total commitment to follow the way of Jesus. You see, as Jesus set his face towards Jerusalem, the time was ripe for Jesus to go there so that the days can be fulfilled. Taken up refers to Jesus' ascension. And this does not apply to his crucifixion, but rather to his ascension in heaven, and forms part of the last scene in Luke chapter 24. And as we read, it may suggest to us that Jesus' death is in view as he sets his face to Jerusalem, but this is not the case at the moment. It is clear for us, the listeners of and readers of Luke, that clearly there's a moment when Jesus begins to move in a new direction. He sets his face steadfastly to go to Jerusalem. And perhaps there must have been a look of resolve and determination in Jesus' face. It is as if Jesus knew that it was time for him to begin his trip to the cross. Setting one's face to do something is an Old Testament way of speaking about resolve. And we could go back to Genesis chapter 31 or Jeremiah 21. And here Jesus is determined to accomplish God's will, whatever it leads to. The journey from Galilee to Jerusalem was not a straight line. Our journey as Christ's disciples will not be straight either. Rather, it will have many twists and turns, ups and downs, as we reach our own Jerusalem. As Jesus continues this travel to Jerusalem, they would encounter different centers of worship. In the eyes of the Samaritans, when you're going to the deepness in the text, they will come across as half-breed ethnic traitors. And remember when the nation was divided, Samaria was originally a name for the capital of the northern kingdom, founded by Omri. And so Jesus' effort to reach out to them is somewhat seen as culturally extraordinary. It would be like ministering in a very different racial setting. And perhaps you may get a sense of what you are doing here. Can you really believe, coming from on the outside, hear people say, is he really ministering to those people in that place? And you must understand the dynamics that's going on in the Bible, in the text. The struggle between nations. And for Jesus to reach out to Samaritans, it reminds us of what Paul would have been saying, that it is about love for one another. It is about, like when our presiding bishop talks about the way of love. Yesterday we heard it as well in the bishop's message. The whole concept of love for each other and the merging of dividing lines. Sometimes some of us disciples are like James and John. We don't give persons an opportunity to realize their deficiency, and so we want to destroy it, rather than looking at the opportunity of coercing, of bringing on. Remember that James and John, they were on the mountain with Jesus, and so they perhaps figured that they can do anything. They can do what they want. But it was not about them. And so when Jesus rebuked them, perhaps the other disciples recognized as well, why we really have to be careful. So what does this narrative mean for you and me? What are we hearing Jesus saying to us this morning as he sets his face towards Jerusalem? William Barclay, one of the great English theologians say that this particular passage in the Bible, although not well known, teaches tolerance like no other passage in the Bible. And William Barclay was reflecting on situations where quick anger is not necessarily the best thing to resolve situations. Just like when a family member or a teenager comes home and tell their parents, mommy or daddy, I am pregnant. And the first response is that you're supposed to be in college. You're supposed to be doing A, B, or C. You get angry, you get upset. But as you reflect, you rebuke yourself and welcome the new life. If at any time in our discipleship we have such feelings or attitudes or inner passions in our hearts based on historic long-term conflicts with anyone or culture or anything like that, Jesus will rebuke us. The Spirit of Jesus does not like those type of feelings. Rather, it is about how we can create an atmosphere of love and camaraderie. Yes, such are the feelings of the prophet Elijah in the Old Testament. Remember when he would have called down fire from heaven to wipe out those 400 prophets of the Baal? In the New Testament, it's a different ball game. Jesus is about bringing together, about love and care. There's a story that exists that through the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln was criticized for not being harsh enough and severe enough on the soldiers of the South. And one time after battle, a general from the North came and said to him, "Why didn't you destroy your enemy?" President Lincoln's response was, "Do I not destroy my enemy by making him my friend?" The word of God touched Abraham Lincoln's heart when he said, "Do I not destroy my enemy by making him my friend?" What a great quotation. It is as if it was part of the gospel. Do I not destroy my enemy by making him my friend? And this is what Jesus wants for us. As we here in this part of God's vineyard, reach out and welcome persons by various ministries, by catering to the needs of persons less fortunate than ourselves. It's about making them our friends and not our enemies. It's about allowing a healing in their hearts, allowing healing in our hearts. Another writer, George Caird, one of the many authors of the book of Luke, say that the most difficult choices in life are not primarily between good and evil, but the most difficult choices in life are between what is good and what is best. End of quotation. What is best for us? Best is doing the work of God in the world. Best is taking care of all of God's family here on earth. All the other things of life are good, but they are not the best. I want to urge us today as we keep our eyes fixed on Jesus, as we set our own activities towards Jerusalem, our own Jerusalem. Let us keep our eyes on the best, on Jesus the Christ, the Son of the Most High God. I leave you with this question this morning. As Jesus sets his face towards Jerusalem and his ascension, how are we setting our own course that will enable us to reach our ascension in heaven? Amen.